morning. Oui, je sais pas. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello. Can't say. We are here this morning. We gather in honor of the residential school survivors. And as we honor the survivors, those who didn't make it home, those who made it home, their families are here too as well. And we must acknowledge all survivors. And to all Canadians who are here to witness why we are gathered here today, to raise the flag in honor of residential school survivors. This is a moment of learning for you. It's a moment of witnessing. It's a moment of sharing. And that is so important. It is so important to the survivors. It is so important to healing. It is so important to bring that justice, kindness, and awareness for the survivors. My name is Claudette Commanda, and I am from Kitagawan, Zibi, and Anishinaabe. And I greet each and every one of you beautiful people. I stand here with my relatives, the Anishinaabe, o Mama Wenaniwag, the Algonquin people, from Kitagawan, Zibi, and from other Algonquin communities. And so to you, my relatives, I love you, and thank you for being here. I acknowledge my family. I acknowledge all of you, each and every one of you. It's so beautiful to be here together, is it not? It is so beautiful. Our hearts are filled with this love, filled with kindness, and a blessing that the Creator always brings to us. So welcome. Before we begin today's event, before we introduce the speakers, the Prime Minister, survivors, we will begin in that good way. We will begin with an honor song, which will be performed by the drum group Spirit Wolf Singers. And this honor song is for the survivors. So to you, Spirit Wolf Singers, Chimiwech Kabijayag, thank you for being here. And we welcome your honor song, Miigwech.
Hey!
miigwech spirit wolf singers, miigwech chimino nogomamin. That was such a beautiful song, and thank you. We truly can feel the spirit. We truly can feel the love that everyone is bringing forward here today for the survivors. And again, I want to acknowledge the First Nations, the Inuit, and the Métis survivors. Thank you for your persistence, your resilience. Thank you for your survival. Thank you for caring for us. Thank you. I now would like to call on Chief Dylan Whiteduck from Kitagan, Zibi, and Anishinaabe to bring forth words of welcome. Miigwech. Dylan?
Kakana, Shiba, Ogama, Baba Shishib, Indigenous Nakaz, Kitagan, Zibi, and Jaba. Hello, everyone. My name is, good morning. My name is Dylan Whiteduck of Kitagan, Zibi, and Anishinaabe. It's an honor to be here today on my first day of being re-elected chief and speak to everyone here. So it's going to be a good memory for me, honestly. It's also an honor to see some of my residential school survivors here from Kitagan, Zibi, and others in the crowd here. You give us a lot of strength in moving forward and continuing this fight, and we applaud you for that and uphold you strongly, and all to the residential schools survivors across Canada and the territories that you stand upon. We got to the drum, we got to Claudia Commanda, and all those who are here today and listening. There's still 94 calls to action that have to be implemented with the TRC moving forward. There's only so little of those calls that have been heard and brought forward. A lot more work has to be done. We have to uphold and lift the new Stephanie Scott here and the new Center for Truth and Reconciliation. Canadians that are listening here today, do whatever it takes to help and lift this organization and all the residential school survivors, and continue the calls for the 94 actions for truth and reconciliation. In conclusion, I'd like to acknowledge the land that we're all sitting on here today, and that we're standing on here, to the settlers of this who are on our territory. I'd like to welcome you to the traditional, unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe. I hope I hope you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and let's take care of one another, because this is what we have to do from here on out. Miigwech, and thank you.
Miigwech, Dylan. Thank you for that beautiful, warm greeting and the welcome and the acknowledgement of our people, and welcome everyone, all our relatives, all Canadians and all peoples to our homeland. Miigwech. Again, I begin by acknowledging the survivors, and why I repeat this, because we are gathered here today for the survivors. This is so important. So to you, the survivors, the First Nations, the Inuit, the Métis, and your families, to the Prime Minister of Canada, to ministers, Minister Miller, Minister Vandal, Stephanie Scott, and to your team, the National Centre of Truth and Reconciliation, to the drummers, mental health support workers, to Eugene, Lavina, and Jimmy, everyone. Miigwech. Miigwech kamija yegoma, nongom. Pijaj goma nishnabe eki uma mweneniwag. Bienvenue à tous. Bienvenue à tous. Bienvenue ici à le territoire non cédé de la Nation Algonquin, and I'm always honored and proud as we welcome everyone to this territory. We begin this day in a good way, acknowledging the Creator, the honor song that was sung so beautifully with love and kindness for our survivors, those who are here, those that could not be here, and those who did not make it home. To the welcome. And it is said in our way that whenever we come together, we must always acknowledge the Creator. We always begin in that good way. I also acknowledge the leaders who are here from the National Indigenous organizations. Thank you for being here to represent your communities. Chimiigwech. So important that our leaders support the survivors. We are all related. We are all related. The Creator has blessed us with a gift called prayer. And that prayer is a song of our heart as we say to the Creator, thank you. Let us put our minds, our hearts, our spirit, and our voice together as one. Let us acknowledge the Creator as a sacred medicine of sage and sweetgrass to honor both men and women, to honor the ancestors and all the survivors. Let us put our hearts and our minds together as we say thank you to the Creator. We say Chimiigwech Kishimanado Kinakego. We thank the Creator for all of His blessings. We acknowledge that first mother, that one mother that the Creator has blessed all peoples with. And we thank her for everything that she's provided for us. We say Chimiigwech Jojoaki, and we thank our Mother the Earth. Together with one heart, one voice, one spirit, we acknowledge that first grandfather who is surely warming us this day. And we thank our grandfather, the Son, and we say, Miigwech Mishomiskizis, and we pray that He will always be here for us. We put our hearts, our minds, and our spirit and our voice together as one as we acknowledge that first grandmother, that grandmother that the Creator has blessed all peoples of the world with, that one grandmother who shines her light upon us each and every night so we may see our sister the stars and to ensure that the waters of Mother Earth continue to flow. And we say, Miigwech Hokamis Tepekizis. We thank our grandmother the moon. We come together and we say, Miigwech Gishimanado Miigwejonje Nibi. We thank the Creator for the water. We come together and we Gishimanado and we say, Kichimiigwech Miigwech Nodin, and we thank the Creator for the beautiful wind that He brings us. We come together and we say, Miigwech Gishimanado Onje Aki, the land that is so important for all of us. And as for Indigenous peoples, we always acknowledge and we say, and we give thanks for the land is who we are. Miigwech Aki. We come together, Creator, and we say, Chimiigwejonje Ishkode, and we thank the Creator for that other beautiful natural element of fire. Those four sacred elements that continue to bless us. Creator, Niboksenda Monje, Nongum, Pakina, Mashkawiziwin, Minokamadzwin, Kichimiigwech Gishimanadonje, Zaki Edwin. Creator, together with one voice and one heart and one spirit, we thank you. And we ask that everyone is blessed with good life and good health, for strength today and tomorrow. And most of all, Creator, we thank you for your love. Chimiigwech, Miigwech. Miigwech. The Creator is so good. The spirits are so good. When you light that medicine, and when it burns right to the very core of the ashes, then we know that the spirits are really happy and are very thankful. And we know that our relatives, our ancestors are here with us. And so are the beautiful wasps that are around us. And I pray that he does not sting any one of us. We must appreciate every element of survival, every element of creation. And I know that they are kind to us. I take this moment now to introduce the survivors who will be coming up very soon to speak. I introduce Stephanie Scott, who is the Executive Director of the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. And I also want to inform you that there are mental health support workers here today. Should you require their help, please do not be shy or afraid to approach them, and they are at the medicine table. And so I thank the medicine for being here. They are here, they can raise their hands so you may see them. Thank you for being here with us and providing. Again, acknowledging the survivors, acknowledging the ministers, members of Parliament, all family and relatives. Thank you. I cannot stress enough appreciation that you are all here for the survivors. As I said earlier, we gather today for a very important moment, and that is to raise the flag, the residential school survivors flag. And when that flag is raised, it will be raised by one of the survivors, Eugene Arcan, and it will be raised with an Algonquin survivor, Florence Cote, and the other survivors will be welcome to join. So at this moment, I call upon survivor Eugene Arcan to come and share some words with us. Miigwech. Eugene.
Hi. Thank you for the prayer. Thank you for the song. Ivan, kamama mo tabay sige. Nas kamama mo talaki o pero tayo. Ego. Kakliyo mo talay ekdam skat now. I thank the Creator for bringing us all here today. It's a special day. And to each and every one of you, I say hello. Ekdam skat now means I hope you get out of today the same as we get out of the experience that we're all sharing. I'm so happy to see our leadership, both Métis, Inuit, and First Nations who are present. That's now. Not very long ago, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission completed their mandate with the 94 calls to action, along with the other work that they did as it relates to missing children and unmarked graves. Like us, they were not believed. And today, I know that we would not be here if the 215 children didn't reveal themselves last year. It is because of them that we are here. I, the same as other residential school survivors who are here, and those that have passed on, observed and recognized and felt the complacency that had set in this country. Truth and reconciliation is a saying. Nobody knew what they were talking about. And then the 215 woke up the world. And all of a sudden we wanted to learn more. All of a sudden residential school survivors were validated. Everything we had been saying is now considered to be the truth. So I applaud all of us who have helped those 215, and all subsequent unmarked graves and missing children who have been located but will continue to be located. This flag that's being raised today in a unique spot on the hill, a unique spot that it deserves, because there is nothing like what we experienced in the history of this country. There are similar situations, but not like the destruction of a people, which I witnessed and was a part of. And there are reasons on the economic woes that my people suffer, both in the social, the addictions, and the whole area of poverty in this country. The first peoples of this country are the poorest of the poor. And that is shameful. And this flag being raised today will be a reminder to all decision makers in this country, whether they be Indigenous or non-Indigenous, that this flag flying here represents the first people of this country and the sad state of affairs that we're in right now. Everybody wants to jump to reconciliation. Be careful with that. Shortcuts don't work. Until we all deal with the truth and come up with the alternatives that are workable for everyone, reconciliation will not be achieved. I want to thank fellow survivors for being here on this very special day. At the end of September, we're going to be celebrating Truth and Reconciliation Day. And while I have your attention, I want you all to know that for residential school survivors, it is not Truth and Reconciliation Day. It is Orange T-shirt Day. And we hope that we're still alive when reconciliation happens. The baby steps that we're taking now can be based on paternalism and tokenism. We want, expect, and it's your duty, all Canadians, to do what's right so that the poorest of the poor are not the Indigenous people alone. It's vitally important that your children, your grandchildren, and all generations to come know the truth about this sad history of this country, this darkest secret that we have all kept, which now has been exposed. It has to continue to be exposed. And not to carry that shame, but to understand that this really happened. And it had a severe impact on many, many people and many, many generations. And that every one of us here, watching, and around the world know that the Indigenous people were not lying when we told you these atrocities were happening in these institutions to all of us. There aren't very many of us left. Maybe 30,000 max. Take an opportunity to meet us. Know who we are. Don't just talk about us. Don't own us as our survivors. We belong to no one anymore. That number 781 that's tattooed in my heart and in my head, I'm not yours. I belong to no one anymore. Neither do any one of us. So with that, nasumnao. Asay minote pitote nas kumamo tao inamo taka pitote hua sanma hai hai.
Eugene, she miigwech for speaking your truth. Miigwech. I now call on Inuk survivor of residential schools, Dr. Lavina Brown, who will say some words.
Good day, everyone. I would like to acknowledge the elders. Speaking of the elders, today I saw someone very, very special to me as I was growing up. She acted like my mother, was always there for me, my mentor. Her name is Lizzie Edino. She's here among us. She was sitting right over there beside her son. Her son is Peter Panoldra, formerly known as Peter Edino, the very first MP we ever had for the Northwest Territories, for Inuit. And he hired me as his first ever constituent assistant. Thank you, Peter. I had no clue what I was doing, but I did the work anyway as directed by him. That's how much we honor our bosses. Yes. We were taught that in residential school, so that was one of the good things, I guess. The rest is history and hurtful. Anyhow, very simply, I'd like to explain a little bit about the Inuit culture. This is my amauti, is to carry a baby in the back. Peter's mother made this for me when I got elected as MLA back in 2004. But very simply, yes, Indigenous, intelligent, yes. Genius, yes. This amautic is a survival garment Inuit used for thousands of years. They created kayak. You all know what kayak is. That came from Inuit. Inuit invented a lot of things. So they were busy always. This amautic, it's got long arms and a little hood there on each. It's for a use, a purpose, for a survival. When the mother is traveling on the dog team and the dog team led by the husband, the baby is in there for hours and below 50 or 60 below zero. The baby has to be changed, the baby has to eat. So the dog team doesn't stop. The mother so intelligent, she brings her baby around, maneuver somehow. The head sits there, inside, breastfeed, or on this side. Then it has a big, big hood. It's also for a purpose. It's for a survival. Imagine baby sitting in there inside a very warm caribou skin fur. The fur's inside, another layer of fur outside. The baby doesn't sweat in there. The baby breathes well. The big hood is meant for oxygen and air. So the air is always the same temperature. And our sleeves are quite wide. That's for the purpose of the air and oxygen going in there when the baby's being fed. Everything that the Inuit made was for a purpose for our survival. I wanted to explain that to you. And today we honor the creation of our ancestors, what they created for us. We use it for ceremony outfits. And I thank Mrs. Itinwa for making this for me. I honor all my elders, all the elders here and the survivors. And also, I'd like to there's not many elders left, just like Eugene said. And I was going to say a lot more, but Claudia has spoken for me. Thank you, Claudia. We speak very much the same. as we often had same experience in residential schools. I'd like to acknowledge the knowledge keepers who guided us, the leaders joining us today, the survivors who helped create this event, flag, and all the survivors whose truth, experiences, and hopes for the future we have gathered to honor. I remember in residential school, a teacher told me I would never amount to anything in life. For a long while, I believed it. At residential school, children were taught to hate their languages and reject our identities. Yet, we are here today. Some of us. Also, we are strong. We are building beautiful futures with our communities for future generations. Last year, I joined the landmark raising of the survivors' flag here at the Parliament Hill, Canada's place of making decisions and laws for the country. Today, we gather once more to remember the past and honor survivors with this symbolic commitment towards a better future based on witnessing the truth of survivors. I thank everyone who makes the efforts to listen to what survivors have to say. My hope for the future is that people will choose love and kindness to break the limitations and hurt imposed on those who cannot speak for themselves. My hope is also that everyone sees the survivors' flag as a symbol of choosing love and kindness. I thank all of you for being here this morning, and I thank the Prime Minister of Canada, and thank you for the honor song. That was just beautiful. Thank you. It might blow away.
Chimigwech, Dr. Lavina, for sharing and teaching and speaking your truth, Chimigwech. It is now my honor to welcome to the podium to give his words, to share his story, Métis elder, survivor, Jimmy DeRoche.
Thank you very much, Madam Elder, and merci kay dito na ako, so kung tagapitok diig, takskasiyak, ang gawas sa gaging skartsik. Was tamam tulimaya ko, gata wundis sutatawaya ko unendik. So I want to acknowledge the prayer. I thank you very much for the prayer and the song as well. You did a good job. Thank you so very much. And I want to acknowledge David Chatra, who is the president of Manitoba and also who leads the Red River Métis in Canada. He was here somewhere. David, would you acknowledge the crowd, please? Thank you very much. And I want to acknowledge as well the president of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, Glenn McCollum. He's here as well, and he's in charge of our file on residential school issues, particularly the one that needs some very strong support from Minister Miller and from our Prime Minister as well, the Isle Lacrosse school issue. That still has not been dealt with, and we need some movement on that file, on that issue. I want to thank the Prime Minister for joining us here today. I was at the last one, and he was there as well. And the Prime Minister is very interested and very supportive of what we have to do as survivors, what the survivors need to do, because government is not going to fix this. We have to fix it ourselves. Kienawan mapukatagawi nalabasik tayo. Kakiyawi ko yung kagito tagawaya. It's our responsibility, and we need to work together. Governments is very important. But the rest of Canada, that's the message I want to give today. The rest of Canada needs to educate themselves, because they need to know the truth. They need to know what happened. Our education system needs to be part of that, because our young people need to know what happened. You know, there's a lot of hurt out there in our communities, and it's you know, it's something that we need to deal with, because it affects our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren. You know, muimi asnewan may igata nagatukia hewatuagi way igagi mai tutagaw kagi mai tutagaw. And I want to thank the Prime Minister for being here and for taking an interest on this issue, and Minister Miller as well. Thank you, sir, for being here. And I would ask you to please meet with our president and his group. He's got a commission on the Isle Lacrosse school issue. We need to deal with the Isle Lacrosse school issue. Very, very important, because the majority of the survivors have died. Just gone. They're old like me. I'm 82 years old. I'm 82 years old, and some of the kids that I went to school with, I call them kids, are gone. Simply gone. They've died. They've never been able to talk about or try to deal with this issue of healing. And I wanted to thank as well Chief White Duck. Thank you for allowing us in your territory, sir. And Chief White Duck just got elected just yesterday, I think. Yesterday, so let's give him a nice round of applause. So, thank you very much, Chief. And my name is Jimmy DeRocher. I forgot to tell you who I am. And I begin by thanking the Creator who entrusts us to care for her beautiful creation. The Creator, you know, the land, the water, and the sky. And I want to thank her for that. And I say her because my grandmother told me the Creator was a woman, and I believe that. And so that's very important to me. And I want to thank her as well for all the creatures that live on her beautiful creation. And I want to ask her to show us how we can keep it as beautiful as the day she created it. You know, we're spending too much time destroying our environment, our rivers, our creeks, our fish, our wildlife, and that's going to have a tremendous negative impact on us. I know in Manitoba they're doing a lot of work planting trees, something as simple as planting trees. David has been on this program for years, and they've planted well over 1 million trees in Manitoba from the last count I had. So anyway, I'm from Isle Lacrosse, and I'm a survivor. I'm a day school survivor. It's very important. I raised that issue. I'm also a veteran of the Royal Canadian Air Force. So I spent a little bit of time in there, and I didn't do anything important. I was during peacetime, and you know, I spent a lot of time in there, and I learned discipline. So when somebody speaks to me, I listen, and that's very, very important. It's an important time in Canada. Today we raise the survivors' flag high over these colonial buildings, where lawmakers are now listening to our truths and seeking to work together towards reconciliation, trying to work together to try to fix things that happened. And we must never, ever forget those children, those beautiful babies that were found in unmarked graves. That is very, very, very important. We can't ever forget that. The truth that I and thousands of survivors lived through and continue to feel, the truth that was thought to have perished along with the thousands of children who never returned from their residential school. Many still don't know. It is the responsibility of our government, our churches, and our collective people, all of us, to uncover the truth and honor the children. And we need to listen to our elders to guide this journey. Very important. It's also important to remember the kokums and the mushums. They never got a chance to teach our children our culture, our language, and our way of life. Many of them, and they're no longer with us. But their memories are up here, and we need to always remember that. Last year, we raised the survivors' flag at Parliament for the very first time, an important milestone that symbolized Canada's commitment to the survivors. Today, I am honored to witness the government continue building on this promise of reconciliation. And I'm not talking about just words. We need action. There are not very many survivors left today. Many of them are no longer with us. About 70% in my community have passed on. And so we need to do it as quickly as we possibly can. And that's why I'm hoping Minister Miller will take this upon himself to meet with Glenn and those folks in Saskatchewan and try to resolve this issue. We really would appreciate that very, very much. I have seen more and more Canadians eager to learn the truth and find out what they can do for reconciliation. A lot of people out there, they don't know what to do. They hear about it. And that's where we as a collective, we as the survivors, need to educate the rest of Canada what happened. They're aware, I think, the awareness is there, but the negative things that happened during this time are some of the things that need to be talked about, and we can never forget that, because we're not ever going to forget those children that were buried in unmarked graves. That's the whole purpose of this thing. I am touched by the growing support for survivors. I look forward to future milestones and that all Canadians together will achieve together towards reconciliation and towards respecting and preserving the beautiful gifts bestowed upon us by our Creator. Marcige Titanawa, thank you for listening to me today, and you have yourself a real nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, for sharing those beautiful words and a teaching. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, our survivors are our elders as well. And we need to listen, pay attention, and hold very dear to our heart and our learning what they are teaching us. And as they said, there are not very many survivors left, so we must always make sure that their truths, this history of residential school remains alive, so therefore it never happens again. But importantly, to always honor the survivors for their resilience, for their survival. We need you. We absolutely need you. It's my great honor to welcome to the podium my very dear good friend Stephanie Scott, Executive Director of the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. Stephanie.
Bonjour, good morning. I'm visiting you today from my homeland of Treaty 1 territory. I am also the daughter of a residential school survivor and a 60 scoop survivor. I was the next generation that was taken at birth. My maternal family is from Roseau River, Anishinaabe First Nation. Elder Commander, Chief White Duck, miigwech for welcoming us to the traditional unceded lands of the Algonquin people and for giving us your blessings and for your support on this momentous day. Elders Eugene, Jimmy, and Lavinia, I'm always honored to have you by my side as we continue to do the work of the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. It is always a privilege to hear your strong words. It's an honor to be here with you today and a further blessing to be amongst other first, second, and third generation survivors and their families. I want to thank our partners, the Government of Canada, for listening to the survivors when they first brought forward the idea for this flag. Prime Minister Trudeau, Minister Miller, Minister Vandal, thank you for your standing with us once again. We appreciate your willingness to acknowledge the hard work that must be done to address the history of colonialism in our shared land. I'd also like to acknowledge the drummers who are helping us carry out this important ceremony in a good way. All of us that are here today know that the survivors have given us an extraordinary gift that is a result of extensive consultation across the land. It is their vision that created the survivors' flag. The residential school system took away so much, but still, survivors continue to practice their cultures and speak their language. They continue to teach our young ones about our governance laws, traditions, and ceremonies. You can see that the strength and the commitment in the flag itself, and you can see their hope for the future. The hope that the seeds that rest beneath the soil will someday sprout and bloom again as prophesied by our people. This is what the flag tells me, and I hope that this message will find its way to all the hearts who see it. To Prime Minister Trudeau, Minister Miller, Minister Vandal, and all members of Parliament and our senators, I want to ask, as you come and go from Parliament, as you go about your important work, please take a moment to pause before this flag. Pause and reflect about the truths that still remain to be told, and about the hard work that still must be done. The survivors have given us more than a flag. They have reminded us of our collective responsibilities. We must all come together to restore the vibrant cultures and caring families that the residential school system tried and failed to destroy this time. It will not happen again. With those words, I would like to welcome the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, who will be our next speaker. Miigwech.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie, for your words and mostly for your leadership. I know how challenging the past few years have been for so many people, and the way you've stepped up and gathered stories and shared them and been at the center of so many important conversations about the work that needs to be done on reconciliation. I'm deeply grateful for everything you have done. I want to thank Elder Commander for your welcome into this beautiful territory on this beautiful but very warm day. I want to thank the drummers, which thank you for starting us off in the right way. Chief Dylan the White Duck, thank you for your traditional welcome. And especially to our elders, Eugene, Lavinia, Jimmy, thank you for your words. I know many people will remember your words long after mine have drifted away, as it should be. The stories, the knowledge, the truths you speak are unbelievably important. I'm deeply grateful that you are part of it to remind us of all the work we need to continue to do. Aux survivants ici aujourd'hui, aux membres de leur famille et à tous ceux qui sont ici parmi nous, merci d'être des nôtres. Thank you also to all the Indigenous leadership that is here today. Remiss not to mention Cassidy Caron, the national leader of the Métis Nation. Thank you all for being part of this here. Je veux aussi saluer, bien sûr, les ministres Vandal, Miller, le ministre Fortier qui est ici, mais aussi les parlementaires, les sénateurs, les membres du Parlement. Tous sont ici pour témoigner de l'importance de cette journée. I can tell you our cabinet room is overlooking this flag, so we will be able to, as we deliberate on the important path forward of this country, be reminded that every child matters, and the work that we need to do needs to stay front and center. This flag is going to be a very important thing on this parliamentary precinct. Avant de commencer, je veux bien sûr souligner qu'on est sur le territoire traditionnel de la nation algonquine Anishinaabe, qu'on reconnaît comme les gardiens passés, présents et futurs de ces terres. On est réunis aujourd'hui, ici, pour hisser le drapeau des survivants sur la colline du Parlement, ensemble. This flag is an expression of remembrance. It is meant to honor all survivors and all the lives through the generations that have been, are being, and will continue to be impacted by the residential school system. It is an important but humbling moment to be here with you all today as a person charged by Canadians to serve this country through this challenging time on so many levels. And I am touched once again by the depth of the responsibility that I hold to serve you all well on this path to reconciliation and the work that needs to be done. Residential schools are a shameful part of our history. That is the truth. That's the truth we must continue to confront, to share, and to be open about. And that's the truth this survivor's flag is going to remind us of every day here on Parliament Hill. Residential schools try to erase the identity of Indigenous children, your children. Avec le drapeau, aujourd'hui, ce qu'on dit, c'est qu'on va toujours se souvenir, on va continuer d'écouter les survivants. It says that we acknowledge the intergenerational trauma these so-called schools have caused, and that we commit to continue working together towards a future of healing and partnership. Le drapeau des survivants nous rappelle aussi que la réconciliation, c'est la responsabilité non pas seulement des Autochtones ou du gouvernement, mais aussi de tous les Canadiens. C'est notre devoir à tous d'être là les uns pour les autres, d'écouter et d'apprendre. And as such, on this flag that we will be shortly raising, you will see various elements that all Canadians can learn from every time they look at it. On the flag, above the children in the center, there's a cedar branch. Well, as Barney, a Nuu-chah-nulth survivor, told us, cedar is used in ceremonies for healing and protection. The cedar depicted in the image has 7 branches representing the 7 sacred teachings held by many Indigenous cultures, including love, wisdom, and respect. On peut aussi voir une plume d'aigle sur le drapeau. Et comme Phyllis, une survivante Mi'kmaq, explique que dans sa culture, l'aigle a la responsabilité de transporter les prières du monde physique au monde spirituel. Quand une personne tient une plume d'aigle, le Créateur prête attention. Of course, at the center of the flag, you can see the children and the families. It's important that we remember those families who were ripped apart. With the identification of unmarked burial sites across the country, the pain has resurfaced for so many. We're here for you. Survivors and their descendants will continue to guide us now and into the future we build together. Last month, when His Holiness Pope Francis visited Canada, I sat with survivors to hear his personal apology. I felt the reactions. I saw the impact that it had. As we all know, healing is a long journey, and it's different for everyone. But we must all be part of that. And that's why I'm so pleased to be here today with all of you, the survivors, leaders, folks in government busy working hard on this. I'm also so pleased that so many folks who swang by Parliament Hill today, perhaps enjoying the last bit of your summer vacation, visiting Ottawa, showing Parliament, your Parliament, to your kids, are able to participate in the ceremony. Because reconciliation is not just about Indigenous Canadians and government, while Canadians encourage and watch from a distance. Reconciliation is about each and every one of us who live on this land, who are accountable to the generations that came before and responsible for the generations still to come. We know that residential schools spent decades teaching Indigenous children that they had no value, that their language had no value, that their culture had no value. And that had a terrible impact on them and on our country. But at the same time, in every single school across the country, non-Indigenous kids, all of us, were learning the same thing. That Indigenous cultures, that Indigenous languages, that Indigenous identity was less, had less value than what settlers have built. And that trauma, those teachings, those echoes live with us today still in ways that need to be reconciled, that need to be faced with truth. As we see a rise in discrimination and intolerance towards so many, the teachings that held Indigenous people to be somewhat less and not, in fact, more, as there should be in this land, still echo. And it's each of our responsibilities as parents, as community members, as Canadians, to be part of reconciliation every single day. On a encore, bien sûr, beaucoup de travail à faire. Et le fait d'être ici aujourd'hui témoigne de notre volonté de poursuivre ce parcours ensemble en tant que vrais partenaires. On est là pour vous soutenir, pour être à vos côtés et pour vous encourager. Et on va toujours se souvenir et honorer la mémoire de ceux qui ne sont jamais rentrés chez eux. C'est ce drapeau qui va nous le rappeler à tous les jours. Merci d'être ici des nôtres, les Gwitch, qui ne nascent maintenant, Masicho, Gela Kasna, Napoubek. Thank you. Merci. Je suis maintenant très heureux de recéder la parole à l'aîné commandant. Voilà.
Thank you, Prime Minister Trudeau, for those kind words, those sincere words, and for your support for First Nations, for Inuit and Métis people, survivors, all our communities, Shimmiwich. And we know, as what my grandfather, the late William Commandant, said, in our prayers, we must always pray for the leaders too as well. So you are in our prayers, you and your team. And you have heard from the survivors, you are elders. Keep this going, keep this going, keep this going. It's important. Never forget, never forget. I now invite Minister Miller and Minister Vandal to the stage for the exchange of flags. Please come forward. The survivors, Eugene, Lavina, and Jimmy, will present the flags, survivor flag, to Prime Minister Trudeau, Minister Miller, and Minister Vandal in honor of the residential school survivors. Thank you, Eugene, for that beautiful teaching on the importance of what the flag represents and how to fold the flag and how to take care of the flag. Shimigwechi. Every day is a learning. Every day is learning. Lifelong learning. And that's so important. I now call on our survivor, Eugene Arcan, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and Algonquin survivor, Florence Cote, to please come forward to raise the flag. And as the flag is being raised, the drum group will perform an honor song. An honor song was performed by the Spirit Wolf Singers. And Jimmy and Lavina, please join. Wasn't that beautiful? Thank you, Florence. Thank you, Eugene, Jimmy, Lavina, Chimigwedge, for raising the flag in honor of residential school survivors. All survivors are acknowledged. All survivors are welcome. All survivors are remembered. Thank you, Stephanie, to you and your team for always ensuring survivors are first. The National Center for Truth Reconciliation, we thank you. So everyone that's here in the audience, and out there too as well, please give a round of applause for the good work that was done here today in remembrance for the survivors. Show them your love. Show them your love. We opened in a beautiful way and we're going to close in a beautiful way. The Creator blessed us. What a beautiful day today. And look at how kind He is that He's going to shield grandfather's son with a little bit of clouds so it can cool off. Last year's flag raising ceremony was done on September 29th. It was very cold. We froze. And we prayed that the next one wouldn't be so cold. Here we are today. We're roasting. Next year, it'll be right on, even. I've been asked to close the event with prayer, but how we're going to close is going to be different. To you, the singers, remain seated. You know I love you guys, right? They're my cute little bonums. You're going to close. We're not going to close. We're going to end this beautiful circle with a victory song. A victory song that was requested by our elder Eugene. And it is true what he said. It is so appropriate that we have to have a victory song. Because guess what? We're still here. We're still here and we will always be here. Chimigwech. Again, I thank all you survivors. Love you all. Miigwech. Victory song. Thank you, Spirit Wolf Singers. That was beautiful, beautiful. Miigwech. To each and every one of you, have a good day. There's no such thing as goodbye. Until we see each other again, take good care. Be well, be safe, find a cool place, enjoy a good hot cup of coffee. Coffee's good. Take care. See you next year.